Congressman Goodling left, and so in 2005, I'm still on the Energy Subcommittee. So with Fred Upton, who was a Republican from Michigan, we cut another deal and we moved it to the beginning of March. And we also said, let's put Halloween in daylight savings time, and so we moved it into the beginning of November. So at that point, I'm at 8 daylight, 4 standard. Okay, so I'm kind of proud of my 2 bills. Changing time, they started to call me the Sun King, which I was, kind of proud of. Because those are big bills, Mr. Chairman. That's moving time. And the whole world then starts to move to that standard. So, well, we had to stop there. And then 2 years ago, Senator Rubio and I, we had a bill to do daylight savings time year-round, and it passed by unanimous consent out on the floor of the Senate. It was then stalled in the House, never had a vote over it. But I consider this kind of an inexorable march towards more sunshine that people can enjoy, not while they're asleep, having the sun come in early in the morning. So, so that's my goal. My goal is just to make sure people get more sunshine in the evening when they can use it, especially, as I heard your opening statement, Mr. Chairman, as our economy has changed. And we're not an agricultural predominant economy any longer, although farmers play a vital role in our society, but we're more into the economy that we all live in today. So I guess my first question, Mr. Karen, is how would extending evening daylight support small businesses in your industry?
It would add to the golf industry at least $1 billion of economic activity. The average golf course would see an increase in approximately $250,000 in revenue. And now, I mean, that's an economic argument, but the golfers around America, the 30 million golfers, would get to enjoy all of that. So that's the argument.
Right. But it's also true that, let's just go back to 1986, it's hard to start your Little League practices if it's still dark in the evening at the end of April, huh? Kids are still, not going to be allowed out into the dark, or you're playing tennis or walking around. So that change was very important, was it not?
Yes.
In '86 and then again in 2000.
My brother happens to be an athletic director at a high school, and he said, we don't like having to spend money on lights for every single activity that happens after school.
Yeah, so would an additional hour of evening sunlight help businesses save money on energy costs from not having to turn the lights on early, much less athletic?
Well, golf, we don't light the golf courses, so it wouldn't be an energy savings for us. It's mostly about a health and economic.
Health and economic, yeah. Mr. Yates, what does your research say about the benefits of ending the switch twice a year between daylight savings time and standard time?
Thank you, Senator, for the question, and I appreciate the nickname that you got. It's better than the nickname that the Comedy Central, The Daily Show, called me the Time Wizard, and so I wasn't sure if I should be offended or.
I'm going to keep Sun King for myself. Okay?
Yeah, Sun King is way better than Time Wizard.
I like that title. Yeah.
The detrimental effects of switching the clocks are super clear, and it seems like we've got pretty much unanimous agreement about that at this point. And what's delightful about it, from my perspective, is to hear you tell these stories, because you clearly have been a pioneer on this for a long time. And what's great is that this has never been at all a partisan issue. It's always been a completely bipartisan issue. When you look at the 24 states that have enacted something to—
And can I say this as well? And opposition has always been bipartisan.
Yeah.
Because I had to negotiate with Representative Goodling who's a Republican, on the other side, but I had Republicans. Carlos Moorhead from Orange County was on my side, a Republican. And I had to negotiate with Larry Craig, who was senator from Idaho. He was the senator before Jim Risch. So I had to negotiate with him on this. He was in opposition. But I had Fred Upton from Michigan, who was a supporter. So it's always been bipartisan on either side, these coalitions that are there. And so that's the only way, from my perspective, that, we're going to be able to work here as well in order to make some progress. We just have to make daylight savings time permanent, in my opinion. one way or the other, or at least get more. We need more sunshine, you know? Well, and the reason, Mr. Chairman, it's from my perspective, it just, when the sun's out, it just increases the likelihood that the corners of people's mouths are going to be turned upwards. They're going to be happier when the sun's out. They're going to be feeling good. That's why so many people move to Texas, by the way, and Florida. It's not the politics, it's the sun they're chasing, right? So this is, from my perspective, a universal feeling, right? That when that sun's out and they can go out and enjoy it in the evening, it just makes all the difference in the world to them. And so we have to find a way here of resolving these issues to be able to deal with it. And I know there's disagreements on it, including, I know Karen Johnson's here from Massachusetts, and she's on the other side of the issue, which I respect. So it's just a big conversation that I hope we can resolve, because I just think it's for the benefit of people's happiness, just to have that sunshine available. They can do a lot more in the sunshine in the evening than they can do early in the morning. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Your Majesty. and I will say I did not know that my friend from Massachusetts had acquired the nickname the Sun King, which the previous Sun King, of course, was King Louis XIV in France, whose best-known statement was "L'État c'est moi," I am the state, which may explain the differences between Senator Markey and myself on the size of government.
Well, I think President Trump is quoting King Louis very favorably.
That's a fair point, since he did in fact tweet out Louis.
Le roi, c'est moi. I think I saw. I didn't know he knew French, but I think he, in fact, did quote favorably. Not even as you are. You're doing it with a very high risible coefficient. Okay? You're doing it jokingly. I think he was serious. Although I will say this, I think you gave the president good advice 2 days ago. Acting, we'll call it more like King Louis.
Well, I will note, as you know, I lived 3 years in Massachusetts, and I remember my third year of law school where it snowed in the month of May, which I thought was positively immoral. And as you noted, the sun is a very good recruiter for the great state of Texas. I am fond of saying you can't shovel sunshine, and that is a beautiful
thing. I'll give you some news that the winters in Boston are now 6 degrees warmer than they were in 1970 because of climate change. So our ponds don't even freeze over in the winter anymore, much less snowing in May. So maybe kids from Texas going to law school up in Boston now enjoy May a lot more than they used to.
All right, so I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap up the hearing. Mr. Karen, give us your best argument why recreational daylight is so important to your members.
My members deliver joy for a living, and they happen to run businesses making that happen. So to them, if they saw more people in the afternoons and the evenings enjoying the outdoors with each other, it's why they get out of bed. It's why they do this. So they'll have better lives as business owners. They'll be able to pay the bills a little bit better and reinvest in their businesses if they had a little bit of a boost more in the afternoons and evenings.
That was helpful, although I will say on the delivering joy, I couldn't help but think of I think the best comedy riff ever done, which is Robin Williams' on golf, which I will note is profane but screamingly funny, and he points out that golf was invented by the Scots and how infuriating it can be at times. And he said, I know, we'll call it a stroke, because when you miss, you want to have a stroke.
Very good.
All right, Dr. Johnson. Would shifting time zones slightly address the concerns for communities that are in dark zone areas if the clock were permanently set on daylight savings times? Does shifting the time zones make a difference?
So we would encourage all states to be within their sort of time zone that is closest to the sun being overhead at noon. So, for example, like Indiana being more in the central time zone versus the eastern time zone would help get them more aligned with the sun. But it should be standard time. So there has been a push on the East Coast to have us in Atlantic Standard Time. That is a time set for Bermuda. That is not the time set for any of the East Coast. So, we want permanent standard Eastern Time, not permanent standard Atlantic Time, which is the exact same as permanent daylight savings time.
Dr. Harkey, what has your research found as it relates to traffic accidents immediately following a time change?
So that's what we were looking at as part of our research, was in that 5-week period before and the 5-week period after the time change. And when we fall back in the fall, vehicle occupant deaths go down about 7%. And when they spring forward, vehicle occupant deaths go up about 12%. And the exact opposite with pedestrian and fatalities. So when we fall back, pedestrian and fatalities rise 13%, and then when we spring forward, they go down 24%. So the net effect is almost zero between pedestrian vehicle, pedestrian bicyclists, and vehicle deaths. And so that's why our research really doesn't come out strongly in favor of either one. But what's clear is that darkness matters. And that's where we do about a quarter of our travel at night, and yet that's when 50% of the vehicle deaths occur, and when more than 3/4 of the pedestrian deaths occur. So regardless of what policy decision is made with regards to the time and where we set the clocks, we have to make sure we're continuing to improve our infrastructure, continuing to improve vehicle technology that will address the safety risk that we have at night in dark conditions.
So you just said darkness mattered, and it occurred to me an alternative title for this hearing, instead of "If We Could Turn Back Time," might have been "Hello, Darkness, My Old Friend." All right. Look, this hearing was important, and I wanted to hear all this testimony because I personally struggle with the two choices here, because it's a question of what do you care about more, sunshine and joy and fun and money, or health, mental health, physical health, and the honest answer for most people is, gosh, I care about all that stuff. So that's not an easy trade-off. The alternative that has been suggested is let each state make that decision. And I guess it's been pointed out that Senator Scott's bill does a version of that by picking daylight savings times, but then letting states opt out. Let me ask, as a practical matter, does that work? Functionally, how confusing is that, having everyone pick different times? How does that work for commerce, for life, for knowing what the hell time it is? Let me have each of you answer that.
Senator Cruz, thank you for that. The one little part of Senator Markey's history about when they changed the time in November was that the proposal was to move daylight saving time to finish at the end of November, and the airlines came back and said, no, we don't want a time change in the middle of our busiest travel season. And so they were going to scrap that, and then they got the extra week to put it in. So time is always complicated, and the system that we have, the system that we have is complicated, but it's complicated because it is a human creation. Right? The sun moving around the earth doesn't actually have anything to do with time. Time is the agreement that we have about what 10 o'clock means, because we don't want to go around saying, the committee hearing will start when the sun is 2 hands above the horizon. We need this system. But the system has this bug right now, and the bug is daylight saving time. It's the switching of the clocks. And so if we have a little bit of time, a couple of years, so that the individual states can address all of these complexities and make those decisions, then we will be able to get rid of this bug permanently. It's something that we've been stuck with since World War I, and this is our opportunity to finally fix it.
Mr. Karen?
I'm not going to say that government solutions cause more confusion, but you can imagine in this scenario that Florida is on daylight saving time, Georgia right above it's on standard South Carolina is on daylight, et cetera, in the same spot because maybe special interests of all kinds made that happen. So I already have problems remembering which state is in which time zone as it is right now, sometimes the border states. To add to that, oh, they're in central and they're on standard. Oh, what time is it there exactly? So I can see where this causes more confusion. Wish I had a better answer for you on that one, but could we adjust and figure that out quickly? I don't know. I see it as problematic, but it may be the only way to thread the needle.
Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I think, the economy, the transportation industry certainly needs consistency and alignment. So we want to make this change once. We don't want to pick something that's tried and been failed twice before, such that we spend lots of money fixing it again in a few years. You mentioned the economy, which again, is so important. And, the majority of our workers start work early. The average work start time is 7:55 in the morning. So we'd be forcing people all winter to go to work in the dark, really affecting their productivity and economics. And so while, certain businesses are going to have different, benefits of the sun, I actually do want to give sun to people when they use it to get up, when they use it to be healthy, when they use it to be more productive and efficient at work, and to improve the overall economy, not just niche, businesses like the golf industry that have shown they can be very successful in standard time, like in Arizona.
Dr. Harkey?
Strictly speaking, from a road safety perspective, I'm not sure it would make any difference if states had the right to select the time, because it's about the amount of light, the amount of ambient light during the times of travel. And so I don't think it would have an impact. Personally, it would probably confuse me, but we had that problem. I will give you a quick anecdote. Almost 40 years ago, we were collecting speed data in New Mexico and Arizona as part of a research study. Had no idea at that time, being right out of school, hadn't really paid attention, that Arizona did not bother to go to daylight savings times. And all of our equipment was an hour off when we went to pick up all the speed data, and we had to adjust it after the fact. And so I think you would have those kinds of things, right, that could work their way into the system, unintentional mistakes, if we were to get into a system where we had a lot of different time zones going on.
Well, I for one, am thankful for these magic devices that we carry, that when I land on a plane, I look down to figure out what time it is, because I'm on a lot of planes and it changes. I want to thank each of the four of you. This has been very helpful testimony, and you all have different perspectives, so each of you has added significantly to it. Senators will have until the close of business on Thursday, April 17th to submit questions for the record. The witnesses will have until the end of the day on Thursday, May 1st to respond to those questions. And this concludes today's hearing. The committee stands adjourned.